we're doing a late podcast today.
Yep, it's after midnight.
But you guys will be getting it at the correct time as long as nothing goes wrong.
Correct. Don't jinx it.
Yeah. It's a very special day.
It's a very special day?
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about why it's special.
Because I'm going to tell you a story.
Oh, that is a very special day.
And because I went to a karaoke party.
Oh, it was karaoke?
Yeah.
Oh, fun.
Went to a karaoke birthday party. Had some cake.
What kind?
It was rainbow colored.
So it was like vanilla cake?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it had cream cheese frosting.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Did it have sprinkles on it?
It did. It was
Gross.
pink frosting with sprinkles.
I hate sprinkles.
They weren't like the ones with the shiny coating. They were more like the powdery ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because like, what are they called? Jimmies?
That's what some people call them.
Yeah. They're like too waxy or something for me. I don't
It wasn't
like
that kind. It was like the shapes that are like the more powdery, uncoated kind.
Yeah. Well, and then it's funny because not technically funfetti cake, but the old, like, is it like Duncan Hines or whatever cake that I like, the rainbow chip cake?
Yeah.
Because those are they like little chocolate?
Just in the frosting, not inside the cake.
Oh, okay. Because there used to be like a cake that went with the frosting.
Yeah, it's just a funfetti cake.
Okay. I guess when they're melted, they don't have the waxy flavor, but the chocolate.
Well, I think the ones that go in the funfetti cake are more like the powdery ones.
Yeah, and then the rainbow chips and the frosting
are chocolate chips that are coated.
Yeah, and see, those are good.
The same thing that's on the top of cosmic brownies.
Yes, they're like sixlets.
Kind of.
Because on top of the cosmic brownies, I've always assumed those were just sixlets.
No, they're rainbow chips.
Oh, okay. Cosmetic brownies?
Yes.
I had a student that called them cosmetic brownies. It was one of the funniest things I'd ever heard.
I was going to call them cosmetic brownies, but I didn't want our listeners to think that I don't know what they're called.
It's fine. I got shots in my feet today.
Yeah, that's not a fun thing. I've had them before.
Yeah, you should have brought me some cake as a consolation prize for my shots in my foot.
Allie was out of plates.
Should have brought it in your hand.
Just here's a hand of cake.
You have a giant purse. And you just washed your purse, so yeah, that's not as dirty. This fan is squeaking.
Okay, so turn it off.
Okay, maybe I fixed it.
Okay. Anything else?
I guess not.
No fun news or...
Well, okay. So I saw a TikTok earlier, and I don't know how real it is because you can't believe hardly anything you see on the internet anymore,
right.
And it drives me crazy. I'm constantly fact-checking things that I see because people make fake tweets of people and stuff, and it's always like, well, did this person actually say this thing, and is this real?
Exactly.
Well, the TikTok was not posted from the ABC News TikTok, but on the video, the ABC logo was up in the corner.
Yeah.
And it was a story about that scientists, I went really Canadian there, did you hear me? About, that scientists have found a 10,000-year-old playground under the ocean.
Okay.
And that...
What makes them think it's a playground?
Well, it says that there's like these stone ramps and like circular features that look like they would be things that you would like climb on.
Yeah.
And like it did show like footage of stuff, but like I said, how do you know if it's real? Right. How do you know that AI didn't create it? I mean, exactly. I can put the ABC logo in the corner of anything I want to put it in. So I don't know if that was real. If it's real, it's kind of cool. If it's not real, then shame on all of the people who post fake things. Yeah. It makes me upset.
I know. I'm tired of it. It kind of just makes you want to stay off the internet.
Oh, I know.
So, are we ready?
I think so. I might sneeze when you start talking.
Okay. I usually do pretty tame. There it is. I usually do pretty tame stuff.
Yes, you do.
But today I'm going to do something a little grosser.
Ew.
Yeah. So, I'm just going to start.
Okay.
Okay.
Did an alien vaporize somebody?
No.
Okay.
That probably would have been less gross than what actually happened.
Oh, great.
So, on January 29th, 2021, officers were called to a residence in Grants, New Mexico, about 80 miles west of Albuquerque, by the landlord of the house, stating that upon evicting the previous tenants, they were told by one of them that they were leaving behind a pile of stuff to be thrown away. While cleaning up the pile of junk, and I almost didn't include this in the story because I'm very sensitive to such subjects, but the landlord discovered the body of a puppy that had recently been tortured. The same day, Matthew Miller, a 21-year-old resident of Grants, had been reported missing by his grandmother, despite a history of opioid abuse. Matthew was not known to go missing for any length of time, mostly because he cared for his 2 cats. I said that very funny, but you guys get it.
How old is he?
He's 21.
Okay.
And he does a lot of drugs, but he doesn't usually go missing.
Yeah.
Because he takes care of his cats.
Okay.
So his truck would be found a few blocks away from an apartment complex where Justin Mata and his fiancée Leonie Calzada resided. Inside of the bed of the truck, detectives found a shovel and rubber gloves, and inside the truck they found several damaged cell phones. To detectives, something felt off. Surveillance cameras in the area showed Matthew's truck arriving outside the apartment of Justin and Leonie just 3 days before he had been reported missing. Mata's fiancée Leonie claimed that Matthew had not been to their apartment in about a year. So, it's weird that his truck is...
Right. Is there if he hadn't been there.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the cops asked her multiple times, and she said that he hadn't been there in about a year since when they first moved into that place. She also told police that Justin had been missing for weeks.
So her husband or...
Her fiancé and Matthew Miller are both missing.
Okay. And how long had he been missing?
About 2 weeks.
Okay. And that's how long the other guy's been missing, too?
I think the other guy's technically been missing for 3 weeks.
Okay. But a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Around the same time.
Yeah.
They went missing.
Okay.
She said that on the 17th of January, Justin said he was going to leave to go purchase cocaine and would be back. Supposedly, he and a woman named Jennifer Lannon had left to Arizona to sell and buy more drugs. Suspicious, detectives researched Mata and Calzada's residence, but found nothing. I need to let Taco do something before she does something terrible. I don't want another incident. Yeah. Sorry. Anyway, so the cops didn't find anything at their apartment. They thought that, Leonie might be hiding either of them.
Was this like a normal thing for him to go out of state with random people to buy drugs?
I don't know. I know that he often bought drugs, but I don't know if going out of state was something that he often did. They didn't really say. None of the sources that I saw said. So I don't really know.
Okay.
So, like I said, he was supposedly gone to Arizona with a woman named Jennifer Lannon. So detectives quickly looked into Jennifer Lannon and discovered that she had recently been reported missing by her ex-husband, Sean Lannon. Not to be confused with Sean Lennon.
So this is 3 people that are missing.
Yes.
And has she been missing the same amount of time?
She's been missing since... she was reported missing on January 25th. I suppose if she went to Arizona with Justin, then she'd been missing since the 17th.
Yeah. So... somebody cared enough to report her missing.
Yes.
The middle guy, nobody reported him missing until somebody came asking questions about the other guy. Okay.
So the first guy's grandma reported him missing. Second guy was not reported missing. And then the woman was reported missing by her ex-husband.
Okay.
So she was reported missing on January 25th. The name sounded familiar to Detective Turney. He realized
Sean Lannon.
Well, exactly. But he realized that was because just days earlier he had been called to Lannon's previous residence, the same residence where the tortured puppy was found.
Oh, gross. Okay. I'm getting...
I know. This is a wild ride, and there are so many names in this story.
So the last guy is the one with the dead puppy.
The woman whose husband reported her missing.
Oh, okay.
They're the people with the dead puppy.
Okay. Okay.
It was their house that they had been living in that they found the dead puppy.
Okay. And we don't even want to talk about the dead puppy, and yet we keep talking about the dead puppy. Okay.
But it was just, the only reason I included it is because...
Yeah.
They find out that
to something.
This missing woman and her ex-husband were the people with the dead puppy.
Right. Yes. And the puppy did not die in her natural.
No, it had a cord tightly tied around its neck, and they could tell that the puppy had gone through hell.
Yeah. People are gross.
Yeah. Like, please don't get a puppy if you're going to do that to a puppy.
No, I know.
So, while canvassing the neighborhood, they found a neighbor whose security camera pointed directly at the Lannons' old residence. The footage showed that on January 26th, so the day after Sean reported his wife missing, Matthew Miller's truck arrived at the Lannons' driveway.
That's the first guy.
The first guy, yes.
Okay. But his truck was found at the second guy's house.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that was on the 29th that his truck was found at the other guy's house.
The other guy's house, okay.
Yeah.
And this was like 3 days before that.
Yes.
Okay.
So Matthew Miller's truck arrived at the Lannons in the Lannons' driveway. He is seen entering the house but never leaving. Hours later, Sean Lannon is seen driving Matthew's truck, but when he returns on foot. No truck, no Matthew.
Not suspicious at all.
No. That seems normal. Detectives decided to speak to Lannon. The next day, he comes in to speak to the police. He admits to Matthew coming to his house and that he drove his truck weeks prior. He talked about Jennifer's drug problem. Now, again, he said he drove the truck weeks prior. This was
3 days.
Like 3 days ago. Mm-hmm. But anyway, he talked about Jennifer's drug problem and said that he'd known for weeks that she and Justin Mata had run off together. The second guy.
Okay.
He stated that she disappeared for periods of time before, but that she usually returned when she ran out of money.
Oh, right, because she's the one that he went to Arizona with allegedly to sell the drugs.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And so...
I just can't imagine living in this world.
No.
Like...
I know. We've already had this conversation,
I know,
like today or something, about how it just doesn't seem like a world you want to be a part of.
No. And when when you've seen, like, as a sober human, what it does to other people, that you can then
just how, like,
somehow
complicated it makes their lives.
Yes. And it's like, I don't want to be part of that.
Yeah. So, the next day... Detectives received a call from a guy named Josh Hall. Here's another name for you.
Oh, boy. I'm going to get my iPad out and start writing names.
There are
Making, like, the spider web.
There are still several names to come.
You know how they have, like, the strings?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the next day, detectives received a call from a guy named Josh Hall. Hall was an acquaintance of Matthew Miller, the first guy, and claimed to have witnessed Sean, the husband, arriving at the home of Kelly DeSoto the day before.
Another name.
Yes. Kelly DeSoto is... No. Maybe. I think she is his girlfriend's cousin or something like that, but I could be wrong about his relation to her.
Yeah.
But that's why he knows this Kelly DeSoto lady.
Okay.
Possibly.
Maybe.
That might be why he knows this Kelly DeSoto lady.
What's she mad about now?
I don't know. She claims there's something outside.
Probably the skunk that pooped on her porch.
When I tried to put her outside a minute ago, she wouldn't go outside, but she just kept staring off into the abyss. Mm-hmm. And they boofed for a second.
Mm-hmm. Now she's boofing. And she never hears anything.
No. This could take forever.
Yeah, okay. I'll be right back.
Alright, sorry, we had to deal with our dogs. Fun dogs barking at cryptids or something like that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Mothman's in the backyard.
Mm-hmm. So.
Or the Chupacabra.
Quite possibly. We live in New Mexico.
Yep.
So, again, Josh Hall was an acquaintance of Matthew Miller, and he witnessed Sean, the husband, arriving at the home of Kelly DeSoto the day before.
Okay.
He told them that he had to go talk to the police and proceeded to stash a bag inside the ceiling of Kelly's garage.
Drugs.
The bag was said to contain a gun,
yeah,
several IDs belonging to his wife Jennifer Lannon, some clothes, as well as some other personal items of hers. He told the cops several times that he, as in Josh Hall, told the cops several times that he was convinced that Sean killed all 3 missing people.
Okay.
He said that Kelly freaked out after looking in the bag and that she gave the gun to a guy named Danny Lemos. Danny Lemos is known as Dog on the streets, but I never say that again. But
okay,
I just thought I'd let you know.
Okay,
his name is Dog.
Okay, not Doug.
No, Dog.
Okay,
and just D-O-G.
No, not D-O-double-G?
Or D-A-W-G, just D-O-G.
Okay. So he's not cool like that?
No. He's just Dog. Let's see. Sean returned to Kelly's and realized that the bag was gone. He became angry and smashed his phone on the porch before leaving.
Okay.
The police... Normal. I know. The police were unable to locate Danny Lemos, so they knew they needed to go talk to Kelly and see what she knew and if she could offer up anything to help the case. She agreed to come to the police station for an interview, but insisted on getting her own ride there instead of riding with the police. The agreed-upon time came and went, and Kelly never showed up.
I didn't see that coming at all.
No. 2 hours later, Detective Turney returned to her home, suspicious that she might be trying to hide something. She told them that her lawyer said she didn't have to talk to them, which they agreed to. They were just like, yeah, you don't have to talk to us.
Right.
And she asked what this was all about. They asked her about the bag that Josh Hall had previously described, and she said that had never happened.
Oh, okay.
She admitted that she had several bags in her shed, however, that belonged to Sean, but detectives were able to find anything helpful or incriminating.
Mm-hmm. Convenient.
And I guess they didn't have any, cause to search the inside of her house.
Right.
So, they did not. But she let them search the shed, and they went through a bunch of stuff, and they couldn't find anything worthwhile.
Yeah.
So, Detective Turney secured a warrant for the Lannons' old home, the one that they moved out of. Unfortunately, due to the disgusting state of the Lannons had left the house in, the landlord was having the house remodeled. I heard in one video that when the landlord got into the house after the Lannons left, it was basically destroyed, covered in feces and rotting food, and I remember them saying that it looked like the children had been chained inside their bedroom.
Gross.
But I'm not sure if that was ever reported because I don't really hear about it anywhere else. I know that the landlord said that he was going to take them to court over several things, so I'm not sure if that was included in that.
I just don't understand how you live in that filth.
No.
I know I am not the tidiest person, but just to live in that kind of filth, and you see that all the time, if you watch those, house flipping shows, or, the TikToks where it's, the landlords that go into the houses after people move out, and just the state that people will leave other people's homes.
Mm-hmm. But since when the cops went in there, it was already being remodeled, there was no, footage of the house being destroyed.
Right.
It was just footage of, the floors had been torn up, pulled up, and the walls had been stripped, and so any potential evidence had been unknowingly removed.
Yeah. But I was just thinking, too, and I'm sorry I'm interrupting.
It's okay.
But, anytime that, we've rented any house, just the sheer amount of paranoia that we lived in every single day, that we were going to mess something up to the point that we wouldn't get our deposit back or something, or that we would get sued over, or even if it was something stupid, I'm not going to put a thumbtack in the wall because I don't want to get in trouble for putting a thumbtack in the wall.
Yeah.
And then, people leave houses like this. I just don't get it.
I know. I don't know how people live like that. I just...
just have no regard for other people, too.
Or for themselves.
Right.
Why do you want to live in that?
And your children? Have your children live like that?
But again, like I said, I heard on one podcast that it looked like the children had been chained in their bedroom. Yeah. So, I guess they didn't have that much regard for their children.
Yeah. Should be a license to procreate.
And I was going to go back and rewatch that podcast so I could see exactly what they said about that, but I forgot to go back and rewatch it. But anyway, so after many exhaustive efforts had been made to find any usable evidence, Detective Turney realized he needed to talk to Sean Lannon again. When he got him on the phone, Sean said that he was in Albuquerque, but that he'd be willing to come and talk to the police the next day. He didn't ever show up. So on February 25th, they had him arrested for an outstanding warrant he had for an assault and battery charge from the previous year.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
He'd be spending a week in jail on that charge, which gave detectives the opportunity to question him. They questioned him about where he went in Matthew's truck. He said that he only went to McDonald's and to buy groceries. He said that he wasn't driving off to the mountains to hide any bodies, and that if he killed anyone on accident, he would have admitted it.
He just offered that information. They didn't.
As far as I could tell from the interview, he was just like, I'm not driving off to the mountains to hide bodies.
Look, I swear, I did not kill anybody, and I did not take them to the mountains to dump them. Promise.
I promise that I didn't.
And they're like, we didn't even ask you that.
We just asked you where you went and, what you got at McDonald's. So he said that he kept guns in his house because he was afraid of people like Danny Lemos, who he claimed was a pedophile. He told the police that Jennifer, Justin, and Matthew were all at the house doing drugs and said that they were leaving to score more. He asked if he could take Matthew's truck to run his errands and was told that when he was done to leave it down the street from Justin Mata's apartment, where it was eventually found by police.
Okay.
You caught up?
I mean, that would be down the street from this guy's house.
He said he had another friend over there.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know how, this life, Yeah. Maybe that's a normal thing. I mean, you borrow somebody's car sometimes and they're like, hey, I don't know. I mean, I always take a car back to where I borrowed it from, though. But I guess maybe if he was, gonna go with the women and then he was like, well, I don't want to come back and get my truck and I know I'm going to this guy's house, just leave it there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just trying to,
But they said that he had an answer for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so...
Yeah.
That was his answer for why the truck ended up where they found it.
Okay.
So Detective Turney didn't believe anything Sean told him, but without evidence he couldn't prove it. Instead, he decided to bring up Danny Lemos to see if Sean would pin everything on him.
Okay.
Whatever
he thinks he's a pedophile. Yeah. Or said that he thinks he is.
Yeah, he said that he's a pedophile.
Yeah.
And so whatever he might say in this case might tell him exactly what he was hiding.
Right.
So they were like, well, we're going to bring up this guy that he hates, that he's already said is some kind of criminal, and we'll see if he's like, oh yeah, Danny Lemos killed these people and did this with them.
And really it's something that he did.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to see if he knows anything by seeing if he'll take the bait and pin it on somebody else.
Okay.
So he said that his kids were scared of that he and his kids were scared of Danny Lemos, and that if anyone was hiding and moving bodies, it would be Danny, who had supposedly previously told them that he would dispose of a body by feeding it to his pigs.
Oh, boy.
He denied any involvement with the disappearance of the missing trio, and without any evidence to the contrary, the detectives ended the interview.
Well, okay.
So over the following week that Sean Lannon was in custody, police interviewed acquaintances and re-examined evidence. They decided to turn their focus to a red truck that had been caught on the neighbor's security camera, leaving the residents with a bunch of stuff in the back that looked like household items. Because they didn't have any answer for what that truck was doing there, whose truck it was, and why it was leaving their house filled with stuff.
Yeah, right.
So they were like, well, let's figure out what this truck is.
Chachi's big butt's gonna knock that table with the microphone off.
Yeah. I know, she was already trying to figure out where to squeeze herself.
Sorry, you lost your place.
It's okay. At this point, Detective Turney was convinced that the three missing people had been murdered, and that Sean Lannon and Danny Lemos held the answers to the case. Time, however, was not on their side. On March 3rd, Lannon completed his short jail stay and was back on the streets. At this point, however, detectives still had no leads or evidence to prove anything or pin the disappearances on anyone, and they feared that Sean Lannon would make himself disappear.
Yeah.
In the early hours of March 5th, 2021, police were called to the Albuquerque International Sunport, to one of the parking facilities where you leave your cars when you go on airplanes.
Yeah. Hey, I've had to turn around in there.
I know. We've also parked there before.
No, we park in, the, $2 lot or whatever. Yeah. I mean, it used to be $2. It's not anymore. But I
don't know. This was a big lot like that, so I don't know if it was...
Oh, maybe.
If it was one of those or what, but it was...
I was thinking, the official...
I don't know if it was or not. I just know it was a parking facility at the Sunport.
Yeah.
But they were called there to investigate a red Ford Ranger that had been left there. Inside the bed of the truck were several plastic tubs emitting a foul odor.
Oh, great.
Inside the truck was another tote, as well as a tarp covering something on the passenger seat. Crime scene investigators were called to the scene, where they unloaded the plastic containers and opened them. Inside were the mutilated and dismembered remains of Jennifer Lannon, Justin Mata, and Matthew Miller.
Gross.
As far as for what lay under the tarp inside the truck, investigators discovered a fourth body belonging to Randall Apostolone.
Oh, a whole new guy.
The owner of the red truck.
Oh.
As well as a bloody mallet under his body.
Was he associated with these people, or did they just steal his truck?
We'll get to that.
Okay.
Jennifer and Justin had both been shot in the head. Justin's body showed signs of extensive blunt force injuries. Matthew Miller sustained massive head trauma. We find out later that he was also shot in the head, as well as extensive blunt force injuries to his body.
With the mallet.
Randall Apostolone had been bashed in the head with the mallet that was found under his body.
Yeah.
Officers were unsure of how Randall was connected to Lannon and the other three, but they would soon discover the answer. According to CCTV footage, on March 3rd, the same day that he was released from jail, Sean Lannon was seen entering the Sunport parking facility in the red truck, parking it and leaving it behind. The police could finally confirm who the killer was, so they immediately scrambled to find Sean Lannon. However, he was now the missing person.
He made himself disappear.
A nationwide search began looking for him, and on March 9th, Detective Turney received a phone call. Marshals alerted him that Sean Lannon was now connected to another murder, this time in New Jersey.
In New Jersey?
A man named Michael Debkowski had been brutally beaten to death with a hammer.
Well, I mean, he does seem to like a mallet.
Yes.
But that's so far away.
Yeah.
And this is like since he's been missing?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So he went to New Jersey and he killed some guy.
Yeah, he went straight from New Mexico to New Jersey and murdered somebody else.
On a plane, I'm guessing.
Yeah, he flew to New Jersey with his kids. I think that he was dropping them off with some family. Because he's originally from New Jersey.
If he drove there in the red truck, did he drive his children there in the red truck?
No, he left the parking facility in an Uber.
Okay.
And then eventually flew out of Albuquerque with his kids.
Too bad he didn't get in an Uber with like a murderous Uber driver.
All right. Anyway, so a man named Michael Debkowski had been brutally beaten to death with a hammer.
Okay.
Sean was linked to this murder by witness statements and surveillance footage that put him at the scene. Through a background check, police discovered that Michael Debkowski had known Sean since he was a kid back in New Jersey, where he and Jennifer were originally from.
Okay.
The couple had moved to New Mexico years earlier when Sean got a job working in solar energy. Jennifer was a nurse at the time. I think that she ended up losing her job because of drugs. I know that she was in and out of rehab.
Yeah.
And Sean lost his job because he got sick or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were both without jobs while they were living in the house
that they trashed.
Yes. But it was during COVID, and so they couldn't be evicted.
Oh, right. Yeah, because you couldn't do any of that. Landlords had to allow people to stay. Yeah. Uh-huh.
And so they weren't paying rent or anything. They were just living in this house and destroying this house. And
instead of being grateful that they had the opportunity to live in a house. And
uh-huh.
we're probably getting all of the stimulus checks and blowing them on drugs. And
So, he had known Sean since Sean was a kid back in New Jersey. Police knew that Sean was a threat and closely monitored surveillance footage and cell phone data. He was located on March 10th in St. Louis, where he had fled in Debkowski's car, which he had stolen. Inside the car, authorities found a hammer, the one used in the murder, a hatchet, $600, Debkowski's coin collection, and a tote containing other items. He was immediately extradited back to New Jersey.
I don't understand when robbers steal things that are easily traced.
Yeah.
Like a coin collection. Because lots of people insure their coin collections and things like that. And so then whenever they get sold at pawn shops, they get flagged.
Well, not only that, but he stole the guy he murdered's car.
Well, yeah.
Like, that links him directly to the guy.
But then, like, you hear stories where it's like robbers hold on to these, like, valuable paintings or coins or whatever for, like, years because they can't sell them. And so it's like, what good did that do you?
Yeah. Or, like, you hear old stories about robbers who, like, would bury their loot out in the desert and stuff and never collect it because it would have been too obvious if they had just, like, showed up with all this gold or whatever.
Right. Like, who was it, the gentleman bandit or whatever? Maybe. That, like, people still look for his buried treasure?
Yeah. So despite the overwhelming evidence, authorities still needed or wanted to know why these murders took place.
Yes.
And whether or not Sean acted alone. Expecting Sean to lie and resist, as he had in all of his previous interviews, detectives were surprised when Lannon put up no resistance. He said he was tired of hiding and he just wanted it to be over. He would confess to all of the murders as well as give detectives the reasons behind them.
Okay.
So starting with his ex-wife, Jennifer. He said that he had come home one day to a quiet house. I don't know if you... Oh, no. I already told you about it. I was going to say that I didn't know if you wondered why they lived together, but it was just because of COVID. Mm-hmm. Like, they were divorced already. Okay. But since they were both unemployed and
they were getting free rent, why not?
So, since they shared children
and it would have been hard to find a new place to live.
Yeah.
And,
So, he just had her come live with them. Mm-hmm. So, anyway, he came home to a quiet house. He went to their bedroom and found Jennifer and Justin together in a rather compromising position.
Well, they're not married anymore.
No. But Justin has a fiance, if you remember from the names I gave you at the beginning of the story.
Oh, that's right.
He has a fiance.
Because she did not report him missing.
Yes. So, they're not married anymore, and he was even just like, whatever, we're not married, but...
Mm-hmm. But rude.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Like, maybe don't do that here.
But he wanted to know what they had done with his children to keep them quiet. He thought that the kids were dead, but they had all supposedly been drugged, possibly by them blowing heroin smoke into their faces.
Oh.
According to Sean. Now,
if that's true, that is terrible.
Right. Like, it's hard to believe anything that Sean says, but there also may be nuggets of truth in his story. Mm-hmm. But he said that when he saw the kids, he thought they were all dead. Mm. But they were unconscious from being drugged.
Okay.
And possibly by them blowing heroin smoke in their faces.
I just don't know enough about drugs because I thought you just injected heroin into yourself. That's what I learned in D.A.R.E.
Yeah. I don't know much about drugs myself.
And from The Haunting of Hill House.
But this is what was told in the police interview.
So. I mean, and I guess he probably knows better than I do.
Right. He probably knows more about drugs than me.
Yes.
But...
I mean, one Benadryl knocks me out, so...
Right. So, this is what was said. I don't know if that's how heroin works, or...
Yeah. Oh, speaking of Benadryl, I've been taking a lot of Benadryl lately just because...
You seen The Hat Man?
No! That's what I was going to say. Because my eyes have been, like, crazy itchy lately, and so I've been taking a lot of Benadryl. No Hat Man.
I think you have to take a lot at one time.
Oh, maybe. I've been having lots of dreams that include lions.
Weird.
Yeah, it really is, like, maybe I should look up what that means, because I have been, weirdly, have had lions in, like, dreams a lot lately.
Yeah.
So, anyway, go ahead.
Yeah.
Heroin dust.
Heroin.
Smoke.
Maybe
if it was heroin dust, I'd have been like, oh, maybe.
But they just, like, had some powder in their hand and just, like, blew it at them.
Like pixie dust, but it was heroin dust.
Yeah. We do not do drugs, clearly.
We're so good at drugs.
We made that pledge to D.A.R.E, and we kept it.
We kept that pledge, that's right.
So, anyway. Jennifer and Sean were convinced that she killed one of the kids, who they referred to as... Because this was after he realized that they weren't dead. Mm-hmm. But they were convinced that she did kill one of them.
How many of them are there?
3,
okay.
So he had one with him, and 2 were left at the house with them.
Oh, okay.
Because the story that I heard was that he was walking to Walmart pushing the baby stroller, and when he was getting down the road, he realized he forgot his EBT card.
Okay.
His food stamp card, for those that don't know what an EBT card is. And so he went back to the house to get it, and that's when he realized that the house was eerily quiet.
Yes.
So, They were convinced that she killed one of the kids, who they referred to as the Garrison baby. I was really confused about this, but he said that this baby was confused at Garrison, wherever that is. So I guess that's why they called him that.
Oh, I thought maybe he looked like Mr. Garrison.
I was really confused at first and thought it was somebody else's kid, because they kept saying the Garrison baby.
That's what it sounds like, yeah. Or that was born in somewhere called Garrison.
Well, he was conceived in somewhere called Garrison. Mm-hmm. But, like, I wouldn't refer to my kids, you know, for one of my kids as the something baby.
Right? Like Brooklyn Beckham.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's, now his entire life, that's how he's gonna know that's why his name is Brooklyn.
Yeah. But, like, whether they were conceived there or not, like, I wouldn't refer to any of my kids as the something baby.
Right.
Because that's just confusing. And so, as far as I know, it was one of their kids.
Mm-hmm. Unless they were, I was going to say to, like, protect their names because they're babies. I don't know. Like, because they're children.
No, because there were plenty of bleeps in the police interview where he said their actual names.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, so they said that they thought that she killed the Garrison baby.
Okay.
And
I mean, you have 3 babies here. You're just so confused. I don't know which one's which.
This one's the Garrison baby. But anyway. So, Jennifer supposedly tells Sean that she's going to go overdose of heroin. I guess because of her guilt.
Because she thinks she killed the baby.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He doesn't try to stop her. Instead, he turns his attention to the kids. Mm-hmm. During all of this, he says Justin gets dressed and runs out of the house.
Okay.
He then tells an elaborate story about how he fashions some splitter out of straws or something to try to administer 1 dose of Narcan that he found to both children.
Okay.
So he says that he got, like, some straws out of, like, some, like, Stanley Cup type things and duct taped them together and put it on the nozzle to spray at both children.
Okay.
At the same time.
Yeah. And doesn't call 911.
No. And that's even what one of the podcasts that I was listening to was saying. They were just like, a normal father
would have called 911
and been like, my kids have been poisoned or drugged or...
Right.
And they're unresponsive.
He had no loyalty to these people.
No.
And if they hurt your children, like, you call 911. Yeah. Even if you did have loyalty to these people. If your children are hurt, you call 911.
If your children are in danger, you
no matter what happened, you call 911.
Yeah. So, anyway, he fashions this splitter out of straws and tries to administer 1 dose of Narcan to both kids. Meanwhile, Jennifer is supposedly intentionally overdosing on heroin. He goes to her, and she's already taken the drug, but he realizes that she didn't take enough to kill herself, so he leaves the room and, quote, psychs himself up by repeating, "You killed the Garrison baby. You killed the Garrison baby." And he returns to her and shoots her in the head.
Oh, boy.
He sits on the bed and puts the gun in his mouth, according to him. But before he can pull the trigger, he hears his son cry out. Which I assume is the Garrison
baby. The Garrison baby?
Yeah. Yes. So I guess at this point he realizes that his kids aren't dead.
Okay.
And so he decides to not kill himself.
Okay.
And he
still doesn't call 911.
No. He puts the gun in the dresser, leaves the bedroom, and gets the kids ready for bed.
Sure, that's the best option when you just murdered their mommy.
Yeah. He put her body and the bedding into a long storage bin, and the day later he attempted to dismember her, saying it was awful and traumatic.
I can't imagine.
Yeah. So a week later, he baited Justin Mata to come to his house by texting him, pretending to be Jennifer.
Okay.
He got him to the laundry room. I don't know how, but he got him into the laundry room where he threatened to kill him. But before he did, Mata offered him up a trade. He showed him a sexually explicit photo on his phone of Matthew Miller, the first guy, doing something disgusting to Sean and Jennifer's son.
Okay.
He asked him who took the picture, and Justin admitted it was him. He was like, "Why did you take the picture?" He didn't tell him why.
Why did you not call 911 when you saw this happening?
Exactly. So he allegedly asked if he could have a shot of heroin in exchange for bringing the photo to his attention. Like, hey man, I showed you this photo. Can I get a shot of heroin?
Yeah. No, but you can be a witness in the trial of this man who did something gross to my child.
Yeah. So Sean told him that if he could find some heroin in the vent, that he could have it. Like, they had hidden in the vent.
If you go through my house and look for it.
So if you can find any heroin in that vent, you could have it. So Justin turned away and bent over to look at to look for the heroin, and that's when Sean shot him in the head.
Okay.
He said that he was disgusted by dismembering Mata a day or two later, and he said that he was a pretty tall dude.
Okay.
He said he also had pictures of Danny Lemos with his son, but never found him, and that if he had found him, he'd also be in a box. Danny Lemos.
Yeah, the pedophile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of several pedophiles, apparently.
And, like, the very first... Well, I don't know. I guess because then he would have been a suspect right from the beginning. Because I was going to say, whenever he was like, this guy's a pedophile. Like, why didn't you go, I know this guy's a pedophile because I saw a picture of him doing something disgusting and my son go get him.
Well, at this point, he's trying to pretend that he's not involved.
Right, that's what I was about to say. Because then they would have been like, oh, well, and then you killed these people because...
Yeah. But, and I just want to mention that during this interview and all of the other interviews, this guy shows, like, no emotion whatsoever.
Yeah.
He's just talking calm, just telling the story. I shot him, and, you know, I dismembered him, and it was disgusting. It was traumatizing. It was...
Yeah.
He's just like that the whole time that he's giving this encounter and any of the other interviews that the police did with him.
Yeah. I mean, I guess he could be in shock. I don't know. Or he's just a nutbag.
They said that he has... I mean, they accused him of, I don't know if he's ever been diagnosed of, but, like, having a personality disorder.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, if you can do all of these things clearly.
Right. So as far as Matthew Miller's death goes, he said that Matthew showed up at his house with his girlfriend, who he said looked to be about 12, looking for money. He told him that he could use $40 of his food stamps in exchange for a ride to get water. Matthew Miller came back to the house without his girlfriend, and this was the day they saw his truck being...
Oh, right. Okay.
On the camera, being pulled into the driveway, and then Matthew getting out of the car and going into the house.
Right.
So he came back without his girlfriend. Sean says that he was looking at fine china in his garage that he wanted to sell. I'm just like, why would you be selling somebody else's fine china?
Right.
But according to Sean, he was looking at fine china in their garage that he wanted to sell.
Okay.
I guess for drug money.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, like, that seems to be a pretty, like, common thing. Just sell whatever.
So he was walking in front of Sean, so Sean walked up behind him and shot him in the back of the head.
Okay.
He said that he finished him off with a hammer.
Gross.
So that's why his head was a lot more extensively damaged than everybody else's.
Well,
heads.
and also he was probably more angry at this guy because of the picture that he saw.
So, Randall Apostolone, who we have never known why he was involved.
And he had the red truck.
He's the guy who owned the red truck.
Okay.
He was supposedly going to store the boxes for $150. I don't know if he knew what was in them.
I was going to say, did he know what was in them?
Or if he just thought that he was storing junk for this guy. Mm-hmm. But when they arrived at Randall's, he asked for another $300.
Oh.
Sean didn't have the $300.
Which makes me think he knows what's in it.
Right.
Because why would you charge somebody that much?
But I was just thinking, that's not very much money to ask to hold dead bodies for you.
Yeah, but I guess if he also did a lot of drugs, that he probably would have just taken what he thought he could get.
Right. So, like I said, Sean didn't have the money, so Randall said that he was going to drop him back off. So he pulled up outside the Pearl Apartments in Albuquerque, which I'm pretty sure we looked at one time in Albuquerque.
What is it?
The Pearl.
We did.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So
I'm pretty sure Jocelyn told us not to live there.
Yeah.
It's stupid because there's so many, like, apartments that they build so many new apartments that it's like, oh, these are really nice because they're, like, new and they're taken care of. But, and every neighborhood is bad.
Yeah.
So you never know. We could never live there.
No.
I joke that I would live there, but I would never live there.
No. It's very crimey-wimey.
Yeah, no matter where you go. Yeah. Especially that waterfall.
Right, that alleged waterfall.
Yeah.
I hate those people.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he dropped him off at the Pearl, and the two proceeded to get into a fight. That's when Sean killed him in the truck with the hammer.
Gross.
That same day, just hours later, was the day that he was picked up by police for his outstanding warrant. So he killed somebody and then got picked up for an outstanding warrant. Mm-hmm. But they didn't know that he had literally just murdered someone.
Right. And then this guy's like... Yeah. It was the day after, or the day before he got arrested?
It was the day that he got arrested.
Or the day he got arrested? Because I'm like, what did he do with this guy's body? I guess just left it in the truck?
Covered up with a tarp.
And then just left it in the Pearls parking lot, I assume? Gross.
Yeah.
Then we could have drove by it.
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah.
I mean, probably not, because it was during COVID.
Yeah, it was during COVID, and so we weren't really doing a lot of traveling, but yeah.
Gross. But
who knows how many times we're in Albuquerque that we drive by scenes like this.
Gross.
Yeah. So, here answers one of your questions. So, after the day that he ditched the truck at the airport after he got out of jail, the next day he and his kids flew out to New Jersey to see some family.
Okay.
So, like I said, he took an Uber home from the airport that day that he dropped off the truck, and then I guess the next day he and his kids go to New Jersey.
A nice family vacation.
Yeah. Sean had, while in New Jersey, Sean had already planned to kill Michael D.A.R.E. According to Sean Lannon, when he was a kid, Michael was his big brother in that big brother-sister program thing. Mm-hmm. And he allegedly sexually abused Sean and had photos to prove it.
And so he's, like, triggered by all of the stuff that he just found out has happened to his child.
Yeah.
And so now he's on a rampage.
So Sean told him to give him the photos, and when he didn't, Sean killed him with a hammer.
Okay.
No evidence of these photos was ever found, though, and some suspect he just killed him for his money and his coin collection.
Okay. Yeah.
They have no proof that he ever abused Sean, or that there were ever any photos, or...
Mm-hmm.
So... Some people think that it was actually just to rob him.
How old were these children?
Pretty young.
I was just wondering, like, are they asking him for their mother?
I think that in one of the videos I watched, somebody said that they had been crying for their mom.
Mm-hmm. Yikes.
I know at least one of them was young enough to be pushed in a stroller.
Right.
Because he was pushing the stroller to Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know that it ever said how old the kids are.
Yeah.
Because they usually leave the kids out when the kids are still alive.
Yeah.
And so they didn't really give any information about the kids.
Okay.
Along with admitting to these 5 murders, Sean claims to have killed 11 more people over the past 2.5 years.
So he's just a serial killer.
Mostly drug dealers involved with his wife. He said he shot 2 and stabbed the other 9 and buried their bodies throughout the El Malpais National Park. Despite extensive searches, no bodies have ever been found.
Huh. I mean, but you put things in the wild and coyotes and mountain lions and...
So in October 2022, he pled guilty to the murder of Michael D.A.R.E., receiving a 35-year sentence to be served in New Jersey. In May of 2024, he pled guilty to the other 4 murders, receiving 4 consecutive 15-year sentences. Sean will serve his sentence in New Jersey first and serve an additional 60 years in New Mexico should he survive the first 35 years. And he was 47 at the time of the crimes back in 2021. So...
That doesn't seem like a lot of time for all of these murders. And, like, I could understand maybe, like, with his wife, it wasn't premeditated necessarily. I mean, and I don't even think you can say that because you don't have to have extensive planning for it to be first-degree murder. You just have to know that you're going to do it before you do it. Mm-hmm. And as you said, he psyched himself up to go do it.
He went out in the hall and was like, okay,
but even if you want to say that one was like second degree because it was like a crime of passion or whatever, the other ones he planned.
Yeah. I know. I also thought they were pretty light sentences, but
he lured the one guy to the house.
Yeah. But all in all, he's serving 95 years.
He flew across the country to kill the other guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All in all, his sentence is 95 years, though.
Are they consecutive or concurrent?
I think they are consecutive, it says.
Okay.
Yeah. He has to spend 35 years in New
Jersey,
Jersey, and then he's going to spend 15... He's going to spend 4 consecutive 15-year sentences in New Mexico.
Okay.
If he makes it out of New Jersey.
Mm-hmm. So another 60 years.
Yeah. So, that's the story of Sean Lannon, a very recent New Mexico serial killer.
Yeah, I never heard about that guy.
Yeah, neither had I.
It's weird.
I saw a video on YouTube the other day, and I was like, huh. I've never heard of this.
Yeah. But, I mean, I guess if it happened during COVID, we were having so many other headlines that were coming up every day.
That things like that were just getting pushed under the rug, and you were hearing so much about parents killing their kids that those stories kind of took precedent over a lot of things.
Well, and it's funny because when you very first said New Mexico, I was so worried that it was going to be that little girl that got murdered in Albuquerque.
Oh, I've been planning on doing that case at some point.
Yeah.
But that case, like, this was a lot, but, like, that case, things have changed over the years that it's a lot to research.
Yeah. Plus, it's just so traumatic.
It's very traumatic, and on her birthday, no less.
I know, she was so little.
It was like her 10th or 11th birthday or something, and...
I know.
That awful, awful thing happened to her, and...
Yeah.
And just, again, living this life. Because her mother was a drug addict.
Right.
And was living this really sketchy life. Just letting gross people into her home to live with them.
Yep.
Not caring what kind of danger it was putting her kid in.
Because I think it's crazy enough that, like, I don't begrudge anybody, like, dating when they have kids.
Yeah.
I mean, like, live your life. But I don't understand the people who, like, bring multiple people into their kid's life. It just feels like you would wait until you found somebody that was, like, gonna stick before you, like, did this. But these kinds of people, like with that case... It's, like, just a constant, like, revolving door.
Well, also, as far as I can recall, the guy that was living with her at the time of the little girl's murder had already gotten in trouble for, like, messing with kids.
Yeah. And if you know that, why would you even let them around your child?
Yeah.
And if they are, I mean, I understand that she was a drug addict herself, but if they are a known drug addict, you would just let them around their kid?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even think you should smoke cigarettes in front of your kid. And not because they shouldn't see cigarettes, but because you shouldn't expose them to secondhand smoke.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so short.
Exactly. But yeah, no, like, that just, you know, compounds on the story of, I don't know how people live like this.
Yeah.
Because they were living such a sketchy life. And if they hadn't been, there's a good chance that whatever happened to that little girl wouldn't happen to that little girl.
Yeah. Just, again, people need a license to procreate.
Yeah.
And then you hear these stories where the current administration wants to start paying people to have babies.
Yeah.
Like, please don't.
Please don't.
Do you understand that, like, these kinds of people are just going to buy drugs with the money that you paid them to procreate?
Exactly.
And then they're going to continue bringing these terrible people into their lives.
And, like, I want to state that I don't have a problem with drug addicts as a people.
Right.
I know that to a good extent, it's like a disease.
Oh, absolutely.
The addiction is a disease. But we should be doing things to deter them and, you know, help them instead of just throwing money at them.
Right. Like, I'm not ever going to, like, I don't know, go out of my way to, like, discriminate against somebody who has an addiction problem or whatever, because you're right, it's a sickness, it's an illness. But also, one, if you were not addicted to drugs before you had children, then when you did have children and somebody offered you a drug, you say no. Because because the statistics are out there and it's in your face every day, you know how addictive it's going to be. Mm-hmm. And why would you put yourself in a position where you are going to potentially become addicted to something and that you know it's going to wreck your life? And if you're already in that position, don't have babies. Yeah. Because after you have babies, your priority is to keep them safe and alive.
Mm-hmm. And it's very hard to do that when you're addicted to drugs.
It's hard enough to do that when you are sober.
I know. And it's just very tempting when you have the extra money to spend it on drugs and not on food for your kids and better shelter and...
Right, and then you just allow other deviants. I mean, not all drug addicts are deviants, but clearly, like in the case of like the little girl we were just talking about, these people are deviants.
Yeah. Well, like I said, that story is a big mess too, because stories have changed over the years, and there's unexplainable evidence, and because like I know that because I think the boyfriend and his cousin were living with the mom and the daughter. I think the cousin lived there. She wasn't just there.
Right.
But she claims that some, like, unknown dude came to the house and he's the one that killed the little girl.
Right.
But they blamed it on the mom and the boyfriend. And they're the ones that got, like, convicted for it.
Right.
But, and I guess their DNA was on the little girl, but there has always been an unexplained, unidentified male DNA on her as well. And so we don't know if the story about the strange man showing up was real.
Yeah. And I mean, again, living in this lifestyle, you may have strange people coming to your house to buy or sell drugs.
Yeah.
Or just do drugs with you.
But supposedly nobody knew this guy. That none of the family, none of the people living there knew this guy.
But they let him in.
Yeah. Like I said, it's such a long story, and I think the mom's story changed over the years. Her, what she claims happened, and because I think supposedly she originally was just telling them what they wanted to hear, and then later she like changed her testimony or whatever.
Right, I kind of remember you telling me about that. I just remember when it was new and it was just so, like, shocking, like the things that happened to that little girl.
Yeah, and we had family that knew those people.
Oh, that's right, we did.
Our family in Tennessee knew those people.
And so, I don't know. It's one of those cases where it's like,
the thing that's always gotten me is that as far as I can remember, the little girl had a brother, but the brother lived with the dad. And it's like, if only.
Right. Yeah, well, I mean, even like with Dina Lynn Gore, like the things that I had read were that she and her brother had been living in El Paso with their dad, and they had just come home to stay with their mom, like just like days before that.
And the main difference with this case and the Dina Lynn Gore case is that Dina Lynn Gore's mother wasn't doing anything to put her in danger.
You're right.
And this is like, this girl could have been with her dad and safe, or with her mom and living this really sketchy lifestyle.
I think I was just looking at parallels as like wrong place, wrong time kind of a thing.
My whole thing is just that if she had lived with her dad, she probably would have been safe. But she lived with her mother in an unfortunate situation, and then this awful thing happened, and it's just like, why weren't both children living with the dad at this point?
Yep. I know. I saw a clip of divorce court, or like one of those like daytime television court dramas, and this lady was like, well, I want my baby back and I want child support, and the judge was like, because the ex-husband or the baby's daddy or whatever was there, and the judge asked the guy, he's like, how long has the baby lived with you? And he was like, his whole life. Like, he's 5. Like, he's lived with me forever. And he got taken away from the mom because her ex-boyfriend had, like, hit the baby or something. Yeah. And so she lost her baby. Yeah. Like, she had her baby taken from her because she allowed somebody to be in his life that was abusive to him. And so he's been living with his dad. And so the judge is like, well, what she contributed? And he was like, well, I mean, she visits every once in a while. She was like, no, like, financially. And he was like, she's never given me any money for this. And the girl's like, yeah, but I'm not with that guy anymore. And so I want my baby back. And I want him to pay me child support. And she's like, the judge is like, you're crazy. Yeah. No.
Yeah. Anyway, so that ended up being a really long story.
Just a little over an hour.
I know, but we're supposed to keep them kind of short.
We don't have to keep them any special length. We can have them be as long or as short as we want them to be. It's ours.
I just mean as far as radio goes.
Oh. Johnny breaks them up if they're too long.
We just have been having a lot of over 30-minute episodes lately.
That's okay. As much as I appreciate him putting it on the radio, like, I don't feel like that should box us in. Yeah. So, plus I've got the little thing that I've got to take out from when I had to go see about the dog. Yeah. So we're fine. Well, thanks for a crazy story.
Yeah, that one was a wild ride.
It was a wild ride.
Even though towards the beginning you kind of get an inkling of who the bad guy is. Yeah. The thing is just all over the place.
There's just so many people. There's so many players involved. Yeah. Or missing people. There's so many missing people involved. The Pearl. Yeah. Crazy.
Good old Pearl.
What if we still lived there?
Right.
What if we had moved in and we were like, this is fine? Because we're lazy.
Yeah. This works.
Oh my gosh. Alright. Well, I'm going to go to bed. Because it is now almost 1:30 in the morning.
Cool, cool.
And my feet are...
I was just thinking that I would like to think that if we did live at the Pearl and somebody had parked a truck full of dead bodies outside of the Pearl, that we would sniff it before it got to the point that it got. Because, okay, this was February 25th that it got left at the Pearl. And March 3rd is when it got dropped off at the airport.
But I mean, it's also Albuquerque, which is colder than us.
I don't know.
So it might not have stunk.
These people had been dead for a month, though.
Oh, that's true. The other people were. I was thinking the guy that he killed.
No, Randall Post alone had just been killed that day, but the other people had been dead for like a month. And I smelled our cousin's neighbor that one time.
I forgot about that.
You could smell that guy from inside his house.
It's not funny. Somebody died. Just eating spaghetti and taking a bath.
I know. But it was Easter, guys.
Oh my gosh.
It was Easter and we smelled something funny.
Yeah.
And our cousin realized she hadn't seen her neighbor in a while.
Yep, and so she called for like a welfare check.
And they found him... was he in his bathtub, or...
I don't remember if he was in his bathtub or if it
his
was
spaghetti
like
was next to his bathtub because he was getting ready. Because I feel like he had tripped or something and
fallen and hitting his head.
Yeah.
Hitting and hit his head. I don't know. I know that... I don't think he was in the bathtub. I think it was like in between like the living room and the bathroom. Yeah. Or maybe in the bathroom. I don't know. I don't think he was in the tub though when it happened.
No, because I don't think he was bloated or anything like that.
Yeah, so. I don't think it was like that. I think he had like fallen either going to get in the tub or got out of the tub.
But whatever the evidence was, the man was going to have some spaghetti in his bathtub and he accidentally died.
That is so terrible. Yeah. That was an eventful Easter.
Yeah, that was an
We were just going to hunt for Easter eggs.
Just trying to hunt for Easter eggs and eat brownies and
play in the paddling pool.
And yet we had to sit outside and watch the coroner come retrieve a body.
Yeah.
A very stinky body.
It was probably the most eventful Easter we've ever had.
Nothing quite like that one.
Nope. I was going to say one you'll never forget, then I literally had forgotten about it.
You forgot about it. I've never forgotten about it. One I will never forget. But...
I mean, like, I vividly remember it when I remember it.
Yes.
I just don't always remember that it happened.
So, anyway. I would just like to think that the decomp smell probably would have been obvious. And
yeah, perhaps.
Well, and I was, not funny laughing, but just kind of laughing at the video, like the police footage of when they're at the airport, because security called the cops, and the cops came out at like in the middle of the night. I don't know what time they came out, but they came out in the middle of the night, and one of the cops kept saying, yeah, I smell something, but I don't think it's like decomp or anything. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, but it's decomp.
Because I don't remember smelling the neighbor.
Oh.
But my nose isn't very sensitive either. And so I've always heard that decomp is a very specific smell. Like when you smell death, you know that's what you're smelling.
But no, I can remember smelling the guy, and it was pretty obviously decomp. And so I was just thinking, whenever you said, what if we lived there, that I would like to think that smell would have been pretty obvious.
You're like Bert and Guster, and you have a super smeller.
A super smeller.
I don't know if it's a super smeller as mom's, though. That milk smells everything.
Our mother's very sensitive to smells. Mm-hmm. Okay. It's late. So tell them where they can find us.
You can find us on social media at Twisted and Mysterious, unless you are on Twitter.
Threads. Oh, Twitter, yeah. I was thinking it was Threads, but it's Twitter.
No, Threads is fine. Twitter at TwisMysPod, which is TwisMyspod. You can email us at twistedandmysteriousPodcast@gmail.com. Remember to put the word podcast in there, or else it will not go to us.
Somebody else has the other email address.
Yes. And send us things that you want us to know.
Yes. Whether you found your dead neighbor on Easter, or a dead body on your way to the doctor,
or in the parking lot of your apartment complex,
or at the airport, and or tell us things that you want us to cover.
Absolutely.
Because there's so many things to cover.
There's so many things. You're going to be proud of me. I actually already have my next story done and ready to go, because I didn't know if you were actually going to do one, and so I got one ready to go, and just in case. So we don't even have to wait until next week to record if we don't want to.
Yeah.
Anyway, so those are the places you can find us and talk to us, and tell your cousin that lives in Brazil to listen to us. And I think those are all of the things.
Just tell them we're desperate. You don't even have to tell them that we're good at our job. Just tell them that we're desperate.
Here's what I want you to do. I want you to call them and be like, look, these people are really annoying. Will you just hit the download?
Just hit download. You don't have to listen to their podcast or anything. Just hit
just hit download on one episode. And maybe they will shut up about it.
Finally shut up about South America.
Yeah. Or if you know a penguin.
Yeah. If you know any penguins in South America,
because I'm really thinking that the penguins are going to come first.
Probably.
And so I think, I don't know, maybe we should put a wager on it, who it's going to be first.
Right? A human or a penguin.
All right. Well, if you'd like to participate in our wager,
yes,
hit us up.
Yes.
All right.
So, lastly, and as always, remember that people are really, really gross.
So gross.
And don't get murdered and put in a plastic bin at the airport.
And don't do drugs. Remember that D.A.R.E contract you signed.
They're holding you to that.
Yeah, I'm holding you to that. All right. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.